related to these kind of equations, right? So 3 variable equations also you have solved, and you know how to solve these equations and all. So from mathematical perspective, these systems are quite known to you. Okay, so what we are mostly focusing on was what I was trying to explain in the last class, and today also I will be spending most of my time to explain the concepts behind it and the dynamics, that is the time evolution. From the time evolution perspective, if you look at these systems, how does they look? Okay, so that is the main focus of today's discussion. So what I was suggesting in the last class, I actually made that for you today. So let us just begin with something really simple, and let me just try to explain that what I am trying to do here. Okay, so I have an Excel file here. I guess you can see it. Can you see the Excel file?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let me just try to explain what I was trying to do in the last class. Okay. So in the last class, we took a very simple example. If you remember, if you have your notebooks with you, you know that the example was quite simple, where this matrix, ABCD matrix, was just A, 0, 0, and -1, right? So that was my equation. So my system of equations were decoupled, and X had only X components with it, Y had only Y component with that. Okay. And now I tried to draw some lines which actually got you confused, where I was drawing two axes and was drawing some line and saying that these were the time evolutions. Okay, so let us take more closer look on what was happening there. So what I did here is this. You can see there A and D written here, right? So A and D are basically in the ABCD matrix. Now my B and C, the off diagonal terms, are 0. Okay, so A is the value that I have I am assigning for the X equation, right? And D is the value that I have assigned for the Y equation. Okay, so in the matrix that I have is now A 0 0 -1, so that A is equal to -3, D we have fixed at -1, and we are trying to look at different ways that the trajectories will traverse through the phase space. Okay, so here the concept of phase space, we have already learned about phase space, this term before, right? And here the most important thing to understand is that time is not one of the axes in this plane. Okay, the axes in this plane, in the phase space, are basically the coordinates that are explaining the system. So in this case, they are going to be X and Y. Okay, so if we look at our system, and if you have your notebooks with you, you can see we have solved it, and there were simple exponential solutions, right? So xt was given as x0 exponential of a times t, and yt was given as y0 exponential of minus t. So up to this is fine. My two equations were dx dt is equal to ax, and dy dt is equal to minus y. These were my equations. Okay, that is the first step. Next step, the matrix was A 0 0 -1. That is okay, right? There was no y term in the dx dt equation. There was no x term in the dy dt equation. And then the solutions of these equations are quite simple. X is equal to x0 e to the power a times t, and y is equal to y0 e to the power -1 times t. Okay, so up to this we were convinced. We got confused from the point of the graph. So let us try to draw these graphs one by one. Okay, let us fix some x0 and y0 value. So what is this x0 and y0? In my phase space, there are four coordinates, four quadrants, like first, second, third, fourth. So this actually tells me what is my initial point. So in which point my system is starting, and with time x and y both change, and I finally evolve and reach some state. Okay, so I am trying to figure out what happens to my system when t tends to infinity. So what I did here, and what I also asked you to do, so this is something that you can always do if you get confused with some problem. So here I have written time, okay, and these are my time steps. So you can see 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and I go on until 10. So until 10, I have considered time. So these are my times, okay. And what is here? In x, I have just calculated x0 e to the power a times t, where t is this time. Okay, so here you can see the formula. It is this value, which is x0 e to the power exponential of this value, that is -3, times the time. So the time will change, the other rest of these values will be kept constant, and I will see that how x changes. So I can see how x changes. So let us plot x versus time. So let us plot this. Time will be in my x-axis and my x variable will be in the y-axis. I'm trying to see that how the time evolution occurs. Let me plot it. Okay, so I see this kind of a behavior. Now what is this behavior? Let us just try to explain this behavior that I am seeing here. Here my x0 and y0 are -3 and -3. Okay, if I change these values, the nature of this graph will change, but it will show you an exponential nature always. It will show you an exponential nature always. Okay, so here you can see that what is happening to x. X has started from 3, and that was the initial value of x, right? X has started from 3, and that was the initial value of x, and it decayed exponentially, and it became 0 after a certain amount of time. Okay. Now let us see in the same way, if my y is degrading with a coefficient of -1, how y is changing with time. In the same way, if I plot the equation y is equal to y0 exponential of -t, how does that plot look like? So this is the graph. Okay, so this is the graph of y changing with time. So just have a look, just have a close look at these two graphs. Okay, just have a close look at these two graphs and tell me what you see. What is the main difference that you see? Both the graphs are plotted till time is equal to 10. So what is the difference that you see?
Slope.
Y is falling much slower, in a slower rate, right? Right? And x is going much faster. So if I change here, instead of -3, I give -5, x becomes more steep, right? It has become more steep. Yep. If I give -2 here, so x is a bit less steeper, right? But it's still steeper than y, right? So this exponential basically is controlling how fast or how slow the x is decreasing. The point where the graph is starting is basically my x0 and y0. Okay, so this you understand. Let me just, if I change x0 to 2, then the graph will be starting from 2. Fine. So this way, I can basically start from any point on my xy plane, right? I can start from any point. This pair 2, 3 actually indicates the point from which you start. Okay, and this is the way your x and y is changing with time. Okay, but if x and y are both changing with time, then how that point, that particular phase point, is moving in the phase trajectory. So in the phase plane, that particular point is also changing its position, because at each and every point x and y both are changing, right? So we're taking it really slow, and you can interrupt me at any point if you are having any trouble to understand this. Okay, so we started from x0 and y0. This is how my x changed with time. This is how my y changed with time. That means for each of these time step, I have a different pair of x comma y, right? And I have that data here. I have already created that data here, right? So instead of plotting x versus t or y versus t, which we already know is going to be exponential, what if we plot x versus y and try to see the phase trajectory? So let us just try to plot x versus y now. Okay, let us just try to plot x versus y, and this is the kind of graph that I was trying to draw in the last class. So see what is happening. I have started from x equal to 2, y is equal to 3. This is my initial point, right? X and y changed and changed and changed, and it comes and crashes on 0, 0, right? Because that is what is supposed to happen. With time, x and y are both falling down to 0. Okay, so that actually tells me that the system has a fixed point. The system has a fixed point where, what is a fixed point? Where After a certain amount of time, after enough amount of time, the system will evolve, reach there and stay there, right? So that is a fixed point. So I have a stable fixed point there. Okay, just from our notion of 1D systems, we understand what is a stable and what is an unstable fixed point, and we can understand that if phase trajectories from anywhere come and gather at a certain point after a little bit of time evolution, then that point can be called as a stable fixed point. Okay, so what I'm saying, point started from here, and as time went on, it came down and crashed onto 0 and stayed there, right? Because x and y both eventually become 0. So now let us see that how this is going to change if I try to have different values of x and y, x0 and y0, different starting points. Okay, so if I have different starting points, say let us start from somewhere where x was negative but y is positive. So again, right, I come back I come to the second quadrant. I start from x equal to -2 and y is equal to 3. I again take a turn and crash onto 0. Let us take another value from another quadrant. Okay, let us take another value from another quadrant, right? So this is the scenario that if you combine these 4 curves that I have just drawn, okay, if you combine these 4 curves and other variants of these 4 curves, basically I get the first plot that we have plotted in the previous class. Okay, here you can see that x is decaying faster, right? X was decaying faster. You already you already found that x was decaying at a faster rate, right? So x was decreasing more sharply, and that is why the curves were curved towards x-axis. Okay, so is the point that I was trying to make a bit more clear now?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes.
Now it's
Okay.
clear. Yes.
Okay, so this is what we were trying to understand in the last class. Okay, this is what I was trying to explain in the last class, that if you take a simple system where I have a linear system where even the dependency is taken out of the picture, in that kind of a system also, you can have different variants of the dynamics. Now, if in that Excel file, you can now guess what will happen if I now change this, swap the values of A and D. So let us make A now a bit smaller and smaller than D. Let us say 0.5. Okay, so A is now smaller than D. So what do you expect? The curves change their curvature, right? You can change the initial point and you can see. So how many of you are confident that you can make this Excel file on your own? You can try to make this Excel file on your own. You can, right? So if you can, you please go ahead and do it. And those who feel that you cannot, please try it out. Yeah.
I was trying on the MATLAB one.
Yeah.
On MATLAB.
In MATLAB also you can do that. In MATLAB actually you can make a very beautiful plot. Here
the Quiver on Quiver. I was trying to plot that Quiver and plot all the arrows, but I messed up with the scaling part. Right? Yeah, here it is exponential and the thing is getting so small, so I messed up with the scaling part.
That can happen. That can happen. And you can also plot a 3D picture. You can also see a 3D picture where one axis is X, one axis is Y, and one axis is time. Okay, so you can rotate in MATLAB. You can actually rotate your entire 3D picture according to your choice, and you can see all these 3 projections when you study X versus T, Y versus T, or X versus Y. And you can also see the entire trajectory if you see the graph as a whole in a 3D picture. So the simplest way is to, you don't need any sophisticated tools. If you don't know MATLAB or if you don't have learned Python that much, that is not a problem. You can actually do this in Excel. So I will urge everyone to try this. Okay, try this out, try to make these graphs on your own and try to get a flavor of whatever we are discussing. Okay, choose your initial points. You don't have to make it this much complicated. You can just simply plug in your initial points and your exponents here only, and you can see different graphs. Okay, so try to make this graph, all the set of graphs, and see that how the curvatures, that all those curvatures that we have drawn, how the lines are there. So here you can simply now extrapolate whatever we have discussed, that if A is greater than D, the curves were looking like this. Other way curved. If A is less than D, then the curves are flipped. So that means when A will be exactly equal to D, what I expect is basically a straight line. Okay, because both of them will be decreasing at a constant rate now. Okay, so let me just equate X and Y to make sure, show you what is happening here. So just check out the table now. Okay, my X and Y are same. I have started from 3, 3, and my A and D are also same. So you can see that X and Y have same values as time goes on, right? So time 0.1, X and Y are same. 0.2, X and Y are same. 0.3, X and Y are same. You can track all the way, and X and Y are going to be same always, right? So what do you have from there? A straight line. That is what you can draw from here, right? So this is how you can change your initial points and check out that how your different lines can be created from this picture. So let me just go back and just revisit whatever we have discussed. Now I guess you will be more convinced about that. So this was our system to begin with, and these were the pictures that we are drawing, right? So part by part we recreated these lines in all the 4 quadrants, and I have drawn one of these lines, but you are sure that choosing different initial conditions, like 3, 3 will be somewhere here, minus 3, 3 will be somewhere here, and so on. You can choose points from different quadrants, and you can see that how X varies with Y as T changes. Okay, so T is not directly visible as an axis in this picture, and maybe that is what got confused. I understood it. Maybe that is what got you confused. That T is not here explicitly in this picture. But remember that in phase space, when I am talking about phase space, you know about phase spaces for quite long now. You have studied them from your graduation days, right? Phase space does not have any time axis, right? There we have only the variables that are describing the system. As time changes, what can we draw? We can draw phase trajectories, right? So every point on this phase space are basically a point that describes the system at that point in time, and as time changes, this point moves in the phase space and we get a trajectory. So that is the phase trajectory, and these are basically your phase trajectories. So as you go on plotting X, Y for different values of time, what we get is basically these trajectories. So from this point onwards, as we have moved on to higher dimensional system, a phase space is going to have X and Y, or X, Y, and Z as their coordinates, okay? And you are supposed to track a particle, that is the state of the system, throughout that phase space to figure out how the system is evolving in time. So here you can see that so the main point that I needed to highlight in the last class, and so we got confused, and I just wanted to give you some time to absorb that the point where we started was that A could have different values. A can be positive or negative, and all these discussions that we have done are for A negative, right? So in all those graphs that I have drawn there, A was negative. A was maybe 0.2, sometimes it was 0.2 or 0.5, or sometimes it was 2 or 5. So it was greater or less than -1, okay? But it was always negative. So if both of them are negative, that means X is decreasing with time and Y is decreasing with time, and both of them are going to come down to 0 at last, and that makes this point here, the origin point here, a fixed point, a stable fixed point, and we call it a node. Okay, so that is one first terminology in terms of stability that we are introducing here. Nodes. Nodes are basically these kind of fixed points where the system evolves and drops down to 0 at last. Okay. So a special kind of node will be these stars, where you have these straight lines where both of them xt decays exactly equally rapidly as yt. Both of them are equally rapidly decreasing. No one is faster, no one is slower. Okay, the exponent that is causing them to decrease, those exponents are equal. So it only depends on the initial point. So you start from an initial point, but both of them decrease in the same fashion. That's why it becomes like a straight line trajectory. So these are called stars. Okay, stars are also nodes, but because they look like stars, so we give them a special name, and they are also sometimes give rise, they create some very special cases. Okay, so we keep them apart from the nodes and we call them stars. Okay, and the third scenario where we stopped was saddles. So in that Excel file, now let us just see that if I make a greater than 0, what happens? Okay, let me just go back. Let us just go back and change our picture a little bit. So let us make a positive. Suggest a positive value, say 2. 2 is fine. Okay. Let us take 2. So A is 2. Immediately the table changed. Okay, let us just look at the table now. What is happening? What is the drastic change that you see? For the different values of X and for the different values of Y, what do you see?
One is getting increasing and
one is increasing, right? Yeah, exactly. So now what is the solution? Dx dt is equal to ax. That was your equation, right? So if that is your equation, then the solution xt is equal to x0 e to the power at. So now it is e to the power 2t. That means it's an exponentially growing function. So you can see that starting from some initial point, say let us make both of them equal. Okay, starting from 3 3, x and y were both same to begin with. X explodes. It just goes on and increases drastically. See, 100, 200, 300, 600, 2000, 4000, right? It is growing exponentially. On the other hand, and we are only at the time step 3.5. On the other hand, y is decreasing because I already have a negative exponent attached to it. So what will happen if I plot x versus t? If I plot x versus t, I am supposed to see that exponential growth this time, right? So what I will see is this exponential rise. You can see how drastically it has increased. So this is actually pointing out a particular aspect that wherever you start, if you have a blowing function, a function where exponent is positive, you have a positive exponential sitting there, that can never come and settle down at a fixed point. Can it? It can never come down and settle down at a point, right? So x is going to increase and increase and increase, and it is never going to come and have a stable value at a point. You are never going to have it. So what kind of a graph do I expect? Let me just start from a point where x was really small. Let us say that x was 1 to begin with, and y was 10. So y was big and x was small to begin with. That was my initial point. So if I have a scenario like that, and let me just plot x versus y to show you that how the curves would look like. So what we are seeing here is x starting from a low value increases. Okay, y starting from a high value decreases. So y tries to come and settle down at 0, but x is not agreeing with that. X is increasing drastically. So what happens to x comma y? It's a coupled system, right? So x comma y, I have taken so high values of x that it is not being able to plot, I guess. Let me just curtle it to a little bit. The values became as high as 10 to the power 8. So you can see what is going to happen. Let me plot it. See? So what happened? I started from somewhere here, 1, 0, right? This was my initial point. X was 1 and Y was 0. So Y was trying to pull it down towards 0, but X was not agreeing with it. Because we started with a low value of X, Y succeeded up to a certain point. But after one point, X dominated and X pulled it away from the origin and pulled it away towards infinity. Okay? So this way, you can create these curves for different values of x0 and y0. You can create these curves which will be looking like this. When you start from a value and you try to go towards the origin, the y tries to go towards the origin, but the x pulls it off and pulls it away towards infinity. So these curves. Okay, so these curves that we drew are basically telling you something really interesting, that because I have a 2 variable system, though one of the variables are trying to settle down and have an intention to go and be stable, the other variable is not letting it to be, right? So the other variable is not allowing the system to become stable, and it is pushing it away like an unstable fixed point. Okay, so these points we call saddle points. I am sure that you came across saddles long before, right, during your graduation days. But what is the physical significance of this point? This is the physical significance of these points. So if you try to see it, it is something like this. So saddle is basically घोड़े के ऊपर होता है ना, that thing. Okay, so saddle means that if you have this valley, if now you are accustomed to the hill and valley picture, and now you can understand what is happening here. Okay, so if you consider only one axis, this looks like a valley, right? If you just consider this direction, then it looks like a valley, right? It has a minimum, but in the other direction, it is basically a hill, top of a hill, right? So top of a hill is an unstable fixed point. If you put it there and you disturb it a little bit, it is going to get away. Though it is like a stable point along one direction. So along this direction, it is like a stable fixed point because I am at the bottom of a valley. But in the other direction, you are on the top of a hill and eventually you come out of it. Because the two sides are not decoupled, they are coupled, and now I have a surface-like structure. That surface looks like a saddle. And you cannot settle down at the point which is supposed to be the minima of the saddle because it is also maxima from the other side. Okay, so this is what we see in the cases where A is greater than 0. So from this discussion that we we're having from the last class, and today also we discussed, you can understand one simple thing, that in this particular matrix that we started to deal with, there we did not had any off diagonal terms. Okay, it was completely a decoupled system. Now just make it a general system where I have A, B, C, D, all the 4 terms present. Okay, so if all these 4 terms are present, what is going to dominate and what is going to dictate that what is going to happen to the system? Who is going to control that? Okay, who is going to control that? That what is going to happen to the system? Am I going to get a stable point, unstable point, a node, a saddle? What kind of a dynamics can I get? And am I just restricted to fixed point, or can I get something other than fixed points also? Can I get some more sophisticated dynamics which I was not being able to see in 1D? So if you look at this, I go back and look, you just try to look at this matrix once again. What is the speciality of this matrix? That it is a diagonal matrix, right? And what is the speciality of a diagonal matrix in terms of, say, eigenvalues and eigenvectors?
Its diagonal elements are eigenvalues.
Diagonal elements are eigenvalues. Very good. Okay. So now, if an eigenvectors also you can figure out very easily, right? So if I have a clear conceptual understanding of linear transformation on a 2D system, okay, so I have x and y, I change it to x prime and y prime, 2 different directions, then what are these eigenvectors and what are these eigenvalues? Can anyone tell me, physically speaking, what are these eigenvalues and what are these eigenvectors? Physical meaning. I know all of you are experts eigenvalue and eigenvector. I'm not going to discuss that. But what is the physical meaning of it? Have you heard of the word eigendirection? Take your chance. Don't be shy. You can say whatever you want. No problem. Any idea? What is the eigenvector? What is meant by an eigenvector? There is something special about these vectors. The thing is that if
when multiplied by any vector with eigenvector, that vector lies in the same span or same line.
The line does not change, right? It is not multiplied with a vector, but if you give it a transformation, if you change the basis of your system. Okay, you remember basis? While learning linear vector space, we learned about basis, right? For example, x, y, z coordinate system, I hat, j hat, k hat are my basis, right? So in any linear algebra system, you have a basis direction. If I change that basis, okay, there are always, if I have a two variable system, a 2D system, there are always two directions, and in very special cases, just one direction. Along that direction, if you have a vector, that vector does not change its direction or span. Okay, so the direction of that vector remains same. What can change? The length of the vector can change. Okay, how much the length can change? Multiplied by the eigenvalue.
Eigenvalues.
Yes, that is the physical significance. That if you have a eigenvector along that direction, the vector's direction is not going to change if you are changing the basis, but its length might change. And how much the length will change? The length will change multiplied by the eigenvalues. Okay, so this particular example that we took was obviously simple because the coupling was not there in terms of, if I think about it physically, if I think about it in terms of nonlinear systems, there was no coupling. But in terms of mathematics, the matrix was simple because it was already diagonalized. I was already dealing with the eigenvectors and the eigenvalues. So that is why the directions that we got in case of saddle, you can notice that the directions are just your x and y axis, right? The two directions from which the curves turned, they were basically your x and y axis, because you are already in your eigen setup. Your directions, your basis is already your eigen basis. But what will happen for a general system? Let us take a general example. In that case, your eigen axis will be something like this. Okay, so this is basically a problem of finding your eigen directions. Eigen directions means eigenvectors. If you have a two variable systems, you have a matrix associated with it, and you are all experts of figuring out eigenvalues and eigenvectors, so you can extract that. Now, what is the meaning of these eigenvectors and eigenvalues I found? So let us take an example. Say this one. Here I have all these off-diagonal terms and everything. You can write down the equations from here, right? You can also figure out the eigenvalue of this matrix and eigenvectors of this matrix. Let us draw these vectors. Okay, let us draw these eigenvectors like this. Okay, and let us now see that what is the value of these eigenvalues corresponding to eigenvectors. So let us say that this is V1, the first eigenvector, and it is 1, 1. I am not going into finding eigenvalues and eigenvectors. I guess you know all about that, right? I don't want to discuss that. You just go on and have a quick brush up if you forgot. So you just have a quick look of how to find eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Eigenvalue is 2. Lambda 1 is the first eigenvalue, it is 2, and the first eigenvector is 1, 1. So I draw this vector 1, 1. How do I draw this vector 1, 1? I go towards x direction 1, towards y direction 1. I join it to the origin and I expand that line. Okay, this is my eigen axis, one of my eigen directions. Okay, next I take the second eigenvalue and I also draw that. So 1, -4. So I go 1 in x direction and I go down -4. Okay, minus 4 steps. I go down, I reach somewhere here. I draw that line, and this is my other eigendirection. Very fine. Now, how will I understand the dynamics of the system? Because my first eigenvalue is 2 and it is positive. And for positive eigenvalues, we saw that it is not going to converge, it is going to diverge always. So I will put 2 diverging arrows like this on these eigendirections because it is positive. Okay. So just remember from the previous example. This previous example have given you an exponential solution where the exponent was a, and if a was positive, it was not letting it to settle down at the stable fixed point. Similar thing is going to happen here. We are going to elaborate on this in the next class, but just to give you a flavor, if it is positive, you put 2 diverging arrows. If it is negative, you put 2 converging arrows on your eigen direction. Here you can see I have put 2 converging arrows moving towards the fixed point, towards the origin. Okay, I have put 2 arrows which are towards this origin because this was minus 3. Okay, now you start from any point around and you follow the eigen directions. Okay, so let me start from here. If I start from here, which way I move? Towards the eigen direction. So I move this way. If I start from here, which way I move? Towards the eigen direction. Eigen direction is pointing me to this direction, so I am going this like that, fine. But now it is changing its direction and it is telling me to move in this way, and I am going this way and I am diverging. Is the idea more or less clear that what I am doing here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Very good. So try to understand this, because problem wise, solving the problem wise, it is a very simple problem, because here you just have to figure out your eigenvalue and eigenvector. But the rest of it, figuring out it is a saddle or it is a node or it is what kind of a stability or instability is there, you need a complete understanding of this phase space. Okay, that is going to be with us for another week or so. So just like this, we are going to categorize and classify the entire linear systems. I'm not going to proceed further from here. I'll stop at this point and we will start discussing in detail from this point onwards, more mathematically, more technically speaking, that you can classify the entire family of linear systems depending on the values of lambda. Okay, and the most important thing to say here, we have already dealt with lambda positive and lambda negative, right? But there are still 2 cases that can happen, lambda 0 and obviously lambda complex, right? Lambda complex we haven't even considered, but that can happen, right? You have solved so many matrices, you have worked with so many matrices so far, and you have seen that very simple matrices can give rise to complex eigenvalues, right? What is going to happen there? Okay, so we are going to develop a complete formalism simply based on the eigenvalues and eigenvectors only, and we will classify the linear systems family into several different dynamical aspects. We will see that not only fixed points, but something more interesting and intriguing like oscillations can arise from here. Okay, so I will stop at this point and we will start from here in the next class. So I will ask you to go back and have a quick look on whatever we have discussed and try to make that Excel file. Okay, that will help growing your understanding. Okay, so I will stop here. You can ask any questions if you have, or we can conclude for the day. No questions? Okay, so take your time, go and have a read, have a look at the lecture, at the problem that we have started to solve in the last